Everyone, today we're going to create a JavaScript website. So we are going to start by creating a new repo, and we are going to call this one JavaScript script website. And we are going to go ahead and add a README file just to make this a little bit faster. And we are going to call create repository. All right, so from here, I'm just going to grab this SSH repo, and I'm going to open up my terminal. I'm on Windows, so I'm just going to do terminal app, bring it over here, and actually for some reason it opened up here, probably because I already had it open. Usually when you open this up, you start here. You start in the home directory, so I'm going to go from here, I'm going to go to repos, and in here I'm going to type git clone, and I'm going to paste in my URL I just copied from the SSH here. So, and this will, if you see if I ls here, now suddenly I have a JavaScript website. So I'm going to go into my JavaScript website, and now if I type ls in here, all I have is a README. That's this README right here. This JavaScript, it says JavaScript website. So I'm done with this for now, and now we're going to go into actually, we're going to stay right here for a moment, and we're going to create an index.html. So I'm just going to do touch index.html, and now if I type ls in here, I've got index.html. Well, we want to do small commits, so we're going to commit this. So git status tells us that we have an index.html. That's a file, and because touch creates a file, that's the way you create a file, or it's one way you can create a file. So now we're going to git add dot git commit first, well, added HTML file, and then git push. Okay, so now we pushed, so we can actually go up here. We can just confirm that our refresh this, confirm that we're pushing is correct. Yep, looks, there it is right there. It's empty, but we don't care because we're not really going to be looking at that right now. So, all right, so if I go into here, and now actually if I make this a little bit bigger for you so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Command Shift plus. All right, now hopefully that's big enough for you to be able to see clearly. And now what I want to do is I want to all right, so we created the index.html, so now I'm going to open this up in Visual Studio. And now I'm going to go up here to File, Open Folder. I'm going to go to my cloud drive. Oops, no, I'm going to go to MacBook Pro, and then my hard drive, Users, Tim, and Repos. This is my home directory, and I'm going to my Repos folder, my home directory, and I'm going to go into my JavaScript website. I'm going to hit Open. So now I'm in my JavaScript website. You can see right here it has we're in the Explorer tab in Visual Studio, and I'm going to click my index.html so I can open that up. And so this is where I'm at. So now I am just going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to go here and I'm going to say HTML tutorial, and I'm just going to go right here, and I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to grab this code right here. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to slap that in here. Because, oops, I'm going to slap that in here and paste that here, and then I'm going to save. And now if I come over here and I hit run and debug with my index.html and I click Chrome, you can see there's my web page. It says this is a heading, there's the heading, and this is the paragraph. It's a paragraph, and now I have I think I'm going to actually shrink this a little bit so I can kind of continue to see this on the side. So that way I can very easily see the changes that I make and refresh this without having to do too much. I'm also thinking I'm going to go and make this a little bigger so you can see this a little easier. So, all right. So now what I want to do is I'm going to add a button. So actually, you know, we just made a good change. So we're going to go to our terminal and we're going to commit that. So git status, we have modified changes. So git add dot git commit -m, and then added content to HTML file. git push, and we're all on our way. So clear. All right, so now if we go back to here, so what we want to do is we want to add a button. So we're going to do button and then hit tab, and it will. All right, so now I'm going to say button, and I'm going to say click me, and then I'm going to hit save. And now if I come over here, this is an opening tag, and this is a closing tag. This is the opening. This is the opening angle bracket. This is the closing angle bracket. This is the opening angle bracket of the closing tag, and this is the closing angle bracket on the closing tag. So it needs to look like this, and we want to hit the refresh button, and there we go. We can see a button. Now this button doesn't do anything because we haven't set the on click attribute. So we're going to do that now. On click, and we're going to say yep, and then we're going to say well. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to do JavaScript. So before we go any further here, let's roll it back just a little bit. Well, we can leave that there. It's not going to do anything. That's not going to hurt anything. But before we go any further, we need to actually add a JavaScript file to our index.html. So we are in here. So if we type ls, we'll list the two things. We've got index.html. Index.html is the only thing we have here. So now we're going to say touch javascript.js. So you can name this file whatever you want, but I'm naming it javascript.js just to make it clear where our JavaScript code is. So now if I type ls, we've got an extra JavaScript file. So now guess what we're going to do? We're going to git add, git commit, added empty JavaScript file. Actually, yeah, we'll do this, and then git push. So this is a valuable thing to take small steps and then validate them as you go. Now that may be a little smaller than what we would normally do, but it's good to take small steps. And as you go, you'll kind of get an idea, and things will kind of become a little bit, you'll be able to find your own equilibrium to what's the valuable for you. So, all right, so we have this button here, but what we need now is that we need to have, so if you go up to here, you can see that we have a JavaScript file and an index.html file. So now, and you can see when we put a .js, .js is the file extension for all JavaScript files. Now there's other files like TypeScript, there's other flavors of JavaScript, for lack of a better term. It's going to look a lot like JavaScript, but it'll be a little bit different in behavior, like CoffeeScript or TypeScript, and those might have different extensions like TS. For a pure JavaScript file, it's always going to have a .js at the end of it. This is our code file for JavaScript. So now we are going to go into here, and actually before we do that, we are going to say in our header, you can kind of see that we have this header tag. So actually, and it would be really good for me to show how to have it set so this automatically indents things. So it makes it a little easier for you. So you have inside of your HTML tag, you have a body tag and a header tag, and then inside of your header you have a title. Inside of your body you have an H1 and a P and a button. So this kind of helps you see where things are. So if you look at the HTML opening and closing tags, all this is inside of your HTML. If you look at your header, only this is inside of your header heading tag, and this is your body, and these three things are inside the body tag. So this kind of helps. You don't need to have a space there. We're having space here because we're able to add something. But so if I go here and then I type, we want to add a script tag here. So the script is going to have a source attribute, src, and now we're going to reference our javascript.js file. So now this is linking, this is saying, hey, this is script, which is short for JavaScript, and we're saying, all right, we want to grab this code and we want to insert it from the JavaScript file. So the code that we write in here will now be accessible from here. So let's go ahead and commit that, and again, small commits, so git add dot git commit dash m linked JavaScript file, and then git push. So now we have added and committed and wired up a JavaScript file to our HTML. So now what we want to do here is we want to actually make this clear where we're coming from when we're looking at code here. So let's just go ahead and call a method here. So if I do a, we're going to say onClick. And we're going to call this onClick. And we're going to say, inside of our JavaScript file now, we're going to create a function. So function on press. And now, oops, that did not, what the heck? I don't know why I did that. All right, so I want to do open, close curly brackets. And now we want to do document which is a special word, dot get element by ID. Now we want to get an element by ID and we want to call it output. And now we want to say dot inner HTML. So what this is saying here, actually before I go any further, this is basically referencing your index.html. And when we're saying this is a magic word, so to speak, it basically references the DOM, or it references the what's on your JavaScript file, on your index.html file. When we say get element by ID, what we're saying is that, hey, we're going to look for a specific element that has the ID of output. Now the problem is we don't have any ID on any of these. So we're going to say, we're going to give this one an ID. And now we're going to say this, call this one output. So we save this. And now when we go over here and we say output, and then we say dot inner HTML, and we're going to say, what this is saying is that I'm going to override the HTML that's in there, and I'm going to say, can you see me? And then we are going to save this, and now we are going to refresh this page, and we are going to click this button. Uh-oh, it didn't do anything. And look down here, we have this little error that shows up down here. This is a debug console. This is a console error. It says onClick is not defined. What do you mean? I just oh no, I didn't call it onClick, I called it onPress. It's very important that you call these things by the right name. See, on here, we're saying onClick. We're looking for a method called onClick. Well, I called it onPress. So if you call it onClick now, let's see what happens. So we'll save this, and this is already saved. So I'm saving with Command S on a Mac, but on a Windows it would be Control S as a shortcut to save. And now if I come over here and I refresh this again, oh, you can see me. Okay, great. So now we are in control. I am in control. So now if I save this, you can see, actually if I refresh it, now I'm in control. So now we can say, all right, we've got a functioning function. We've got a function that works. So let's go ahead and commit, because now we've got something that's actually running. Git add dot git commit dash m added function for on click or for button. All right, so oops, git push. All right. So now, if we go back up here, and we go and we and if any time you want to kind of see what I'm doing, go ahead and pause the video, and you'll be able to see this. So all right. So now what we want to do, so we have this output. I could make this a little bigger so you can kind of see it. So we have this document. So our function is function onClick document.getElement by ID output. Because we have our ID of output right here in this p tag, we are overriding this p tag. So we're taking the HTML and we're saying in the inner HTML we're gonna override. We don't care what it says now. We're gonna say now it's gonna say this, and so that's how that's working. So now let's say we want to do something a little more interesting, and we want to do an input field. So instead of saying this is a heading, why don't we say, what's your name? And now we can say, well, we're going to create what's called an input tag. And an input tag, we can give this an ID as well, and we're going to give it inserted name. And then we're going to close it. Now this tag is a little bit different than most tags. Most tags have an opening and a closing. This one doesn't have any need to have an opening and a closing because you don't put text inside of here. You could potentially put text in here. There's properties that you can put, like a default text or starting text or things like that. But for now, we're just going to leave this blank. And for that use case, we're not going to need that. So now an input tag basically turns into a field. So if we look at this in our in here and we refresh, now we have a little box here that you can type input in. So now we're not ready to use that input yet, but let's go ahead and on the press. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, go back into our onClick method. Now we're going to say, after this, we can do more than one thing in a function. Oh, this is also should have a semicolon at the end of it. You always want to have a semicolon at the end of your lines of code in JavaScript. And but now what we want to do is we want to call an alert. So we're going to say alert, and this is a function that is kind of a magic word function. And you say hello, and what we're going to say, this is basically says whenever I call this function, it's going to actually pop up an alert on the screen. So I'm going to say hello, and then I'm going to say, and this is a string right here, hello, comma, and that's the single quotes, make it a single quotes or double quotes work. And then if we do a plus symbol, this is called concatenation. And what we're going to say is we're going to say this function called onClick, this is inside of these two parentheses is where you put what's called parameters. And what parameter is when you want to pass a information to a function that a function will do something with. So our function here is called onClick, and I'm going to give it a parameter called input name. And so what we're going to say is I'm going to do an alert that says input, that's going to return input name, and then I'm going to say put another concatenation, and I'm going to put an exclamation mark here. So, and then I'm going to put a semicolon at the end, and then I'm going to save. And so now what this is saying is that this function called onClick takes in what's called a parameter. See, it gives you a parameter. It says it's a parameter. It's called input name, and the type is any. That's what the colon there means. That this is representing the type. And the type basically means we don't know what type it is. It's any kind of type. So in JavaScript, they have a specific type called any. That could be anything. So I could pass a number in here. I could pass a list in here. I could pass an object in there. I could pass a string in there. But right now we're going to pass a string because an input ID you can only type. It'll only receive strings. And so what I'm going to say over here, the ID I can reference directly here, and I'm going to say inserted name dot value. So what I'm doing now is I am referencing inserted name, and I am saying inserted name dot value. And what this is going to say is whenever you enter a value in here, so I'm going to save this, and so now our onClick method, we're passing in an argument or a parameter that is being passed into the function, and so that whenever we come on the other side here, we say, okay, we pass it to here, and it's being passed right into here. So now let's save this, and let's save this with a Control S or Command S, depending on if you have Windows or a Mac, and we are going to say banana. So what's your name? And we want to have an alert called. No, I don't see the alert. Did you see the alert? So something went wrong. So let's see. Our onClick, it says input name, and we're saying input name here, so that's good. Now if we go into our index.html, we have, oh, not input name, but inserted name. So let's call this input name. Actually, it doesn't matter, this is the same. Inserted name is actually correct. That's the ID, and the on click, we are referencing inserted name. That's totally fine. Inserted name dot value. Let's see. Input. I don't think these need to be next to each other, so let's see. All right, let's go back to here. Let's refresh this. Oh, there it is. I don't know what happened before, but it must not have saved something. All right, so now we type banana, oops, whatever, jellyfish, and hello, jellyfish. So there you go. And so this is what an alert looks like. And that is some JavaScript that you can start playing with. There are different ways that you can start doing things on here. The button press is a very common way to begin to interact with JavaScript, and we are now seeing how we create a function, how we are able to use a parameter, and how we are concatenating a string and calling an alert in JavaScript. So thanks. Oh yeah, don't forget this. We're going to do a commit now. So git add dot git commit dash m added alert to button press or button click, so we don't get those confused. Git push. All right, and this always means that you've got it and it works great. So thanks for watching, and enjoy your coding.